Hey guys, so I was checking the charts this morning like I usually do. And yeah, XRP actually moved today. And it may not have been 100% rocket ship like we are kind of hoping will happen one of these days, but it's still sitting up near, close to that buck 50, buck 48 right now, which feels kind of noticeable after weeks of just grinding sideways in that low $1.38, $1.40 zone. And I know what you're probably thinking is we've had ETF money coming in, that big, JPMorgan pilot on the ledger and all this stuff building. And now, okay, it finally ticks up a bit. Great. And I've been kind of seeing the same question pop up in comments everywhere right now. And it's kind of like, does it actually mean something, or is this just another quick run up before it dives lower? So I don't know. Let's walk through it because I think once you connect the dots, it makes a little bit more sense. And if some of it's still speculation at this point, that's okay. And quick disclaimer before we get into it, this is not financial advice. Seriously, always do your own research. Markets can flip fast, and you owe it to yourself to do at least that. So let's start with the ETF side because that's been the engine for quite a while. All these ETFs coming in. And I remember, I don't know if you were around when the ETFs first got approved and everybody was thinking, hey, this is what's going to send it. And then nothing. It didn't get sent, right? And we're wondering, well, what's going on? And the latest numbers with all these US like spot ETFs is that they pulled in about a 1.3 some billion dollars since launch. And if you're like me, you're wondering, well, why haven't I seen it? Why haven't I seen anything in the price? And like there's even I think, was it 28 million in the last few days? Like XRP's been, like, the spot ETF inflows have been going nuts, and they barely had any outflows. And I think going there like a couple weeks or a week or so ago, it had a bit of an outflow, which was like, it was like $28,000 or something of an outflow. Like it wasn't really huge. And I think the thing is when people are when people are buying those shares, like the issuers have to actually go buy the underlying XRP, like real coins held in custody, no shortcuts. And I was thinking about that earlier, and if that demand's been there for months, why didn't the price budge? I mean, even today, like, it moved a little bit, but why, right? And a lot of it was just uh, getting absorbed kind of on the sidelines. The funds are buying slowly, they're not really chasing, while retail maybe kind of trimming on the little pops. It moves up a bit, and then retail kind of dumps their bag, right? And with today's move, I'm assuming that's generally the same. I know you have like people like you guys who are paying attention, and you just are keeping your bags and you're just stacking on every low. But a lot of retail, the average amount of retail is they've exited, but institutions haven't. And some of it could be those, like, these flows are finally showing up. I guess a little bit more visibly now. That's possible. Or maybe it's just the market waking up to the fact that supply is getting tighter under everything that's going on. I don't know. It's not like we have some big, smoking gun that came out today and that's why the price went up. Sometimes markets just, this is kind of what they do. But look, for the longest time, XRP's been stuck bouncing between these lows of a buck 30, the mid $40s. It's been pretty flat, kind of super frustrating if you're watching it every single day. I usually don't suggest to do that in this space, in the bear market or in the bull. Like, I mean, you need to be aware, obviously, what's going on. But if you're looking every single day, like, oh, how much is my portfolio going up today? Crypto's volatile, crypto moves, right? And you kind of have to have your own mindset of when you think it makes sense for you to pull the trigger and sell, or maybe you want to generate some type of yield lending strategy. For now, to be able to do that, you have to have your assets in an LLC. If that's something that interests you, let me know in the comments below. We do at Exponential Group set up LLCs for people when they do, if they're looking to have those, institutional grade custody options. And yeah, it's something to look for, and it may make sense for you, but it's not for everybody. But it is a strategy that people are using. Or if you just want to kind of like separate separate your liability, right? An LLC, a limited liability company, right? You want to be able to make it in a way where if you're going to get sued, it's harder for somebody to come at your digital assets, especially once price appreciates. Maybe you think, oh, I don't have a whole lot right now. Well, if XRP goes to $1,000, you might be thinking a little bit differently, right? But whatever. Today it popped, and honestly, I've been reading some of the takes out there, and there's a few people kind of like thinking, well, it might be that ETF buying is finally breaking through, or maybe whales positioning ahead of next week's big regulatory date, right? There could be something to look out for that, and it could be conspiracy, or like some type of coordinated flows. I know there's some camps in the XR community in there, and sometimes I dabble, and sometimes they're right. I mean, Chris Larson, like that guy was a little bit conspiracy theory-ish, and I don't know. It's possible, but I tend to think it's maybe actually a little bit more boring than that. It may just be that the market is catching up to the positioning that's been happening all of these months and years, really. But either way, it's not nothing. And underneath, XRP hasn't been ignored. It's been getting locked up. And today you kind of saw, I guess, a little bit of that pressure release. And that's just how these markets work. But then there's this other thing that dropped this week, and it got some attention, but maybe probably not as much attention as it probably deserved. But on May 6th, news broke out, that JPMorgan's, Kinexys, MasterCard, Ripple, Ondo ran real tokenized treasury settlement on the XRP ledger. It cleared it in under 5 seconds. We talked a bit about it, so I'm not going to go totally into it. If you're curious about that, check out one of my videos earlier. But like, this wasn't some big marketing stunt or some kind of press conference shenanigans. It's just a pilot that worked cleanly. And banks don't usually bother with these tests unless they're already thinking long term and how it fits into their actual operations. And I guess the thing I keep thinking about is that like this pilot news was out a few days ago, but now we're starting to see some price moving. I mean, if we break a $1.50, I mean, hey, we may have a bit of a run, but there's also some camps that are saying, hey, maybe we're gonna drop to 70 cents, and that's the kind of thing nobody really has a crystal ball, right? And maybe there's some bigger players that they're finally pricing in that the ledger is getting real institutional traction, and that's why the price is going up. It's hard to say what really is a catalyst that's going to cause things to move. I've seen a couple more conspiracy leaning takes too, saying like, well, it's actually just like the banks are loading up before the public catches on, and that's actually quite possible. There definitely could be that. I mean, there's definitely like Ripple definitely has a lot of NDAs, and they have a lot of partners that are just been accumulating XRP or been given XRP to be used, right? Just remember, if you're new to this space, like XRP isn't just like a coin to hold, like just for the heck of it, like Bitcoin, a store of value. No, institutions want to use XRP for cross-border settlement and remittances and all those kind of things. So, I mean, I don't know. You might be sitting there like, okay, Caleb, how does any of this even kind of matter for me and matter for my allocation in XRP if you have one? And that's a fair question. So let me try to summarize this for you briefly. And just kind of like, why has everything felt stuck until you have a little pop like this and you have a sense of relief, like, hey, maybe something's going to happen. And a huge piece of it is still this regulatory timing that's happening in the US, in my opinion. So the Clarity Act in that digital asset market clarity bill, it's heading to the Senate Banking Committee markup this Thursday, May 14th. So like Ripple's been pretty straight about it. There's a window here. If it doesn't move, it could drag. It could drag. And I know people don't want to hear that, but hey, that's a possibility. And one thing is for certain is that institutions hate uncertainty. So they'll position like ETFs, pies, all that, but they don't usually go full send until the rules feel absolutely locked in. That's why the Clarity Act is actually a really big mover here. And and I think that's why we've had this slow absorption phase, which is a great buying opportunity in my opinion. This is just what I'm doing. You guys do what you want to do, but I mean, that's just my own personal conviction, and you owe it to yourself to have your own personal conviction and why you would believe in an asset like this, and why you think it would actually matter for you and for your family in the future. But today's move, I don't know. Some folks are just speculating that it's that anticipation building. That's possible. Like maybe the markets are starting to front run the markup a little bit, and at the same time, it could be nothing. It could just be smart money sniffing around, having a go. I don't know. But I think once you stack the pilot, ETF flows, and this regulatory date all happening in the same, you know, week or couple weeks, it starts to feel like the pieces are lining up a little bit more than they were like even a few weeks ago. And maybe the can's gonna get pushed. I kind of hope not, but we'll see. But like right now, XRP is hovering around, $1.48, and after that bump, I think like it felt kind of nice. It felt kind of nice, even just that tiny little move, because that's not ever. If you've been in crypto for a while, you kind of realize that like crypto has these massive moves, right? Like, and we didn't really see in the last bull run like any major 100x move. We barely even got any 20x move. Like XRP was actually one of the big movers, and it did, I think, like it was a 15x or something like that, right? Like it maybe even a 12 to 15x. What did it do? It was I think the low was 27 cents and it went to like a 360, something like that, right? So I don't know. You do the math. Let me know in the comments below exactly what it was. But that, I mean, that's go try to find that anywhere else. You're not. So I know we kind of poo-poo on this market, in this asset class, because I think because it holds a level of more risk and volatility than traditional stocks. But try to go find that in a traditional stock. I mean, you most likely won't, right? Maybe you get really, really lucky in some penny stock or something, some new like AI project or something, but you don't really see those types of moves. And then in crypto, we're like, oh, like it did nothing. Well, it did do something. It did do something, but it didn't do what it's done in the past. And you know what? To be fair, we can't just accept that like, oh, because it did it in the past, that means it's going to do it in the future. As these things come out, like the Clarity Act, the Genius Act came out, all these different regulations into this space that bring in institutional big boy money, that's going to start to change how crypto has these massive moves, because it's going to be a lot less volatile at the end of the day, right? And that means, yeah, it'll be nice that it doesn't come crashing down 80-90% in the bear markets, but it also isn't going to be doing the the monster moves that it's done in the past. I think we do have one more crack at it, and that's going to be this cycle. So I think you owe it to yourself to just lock in right now and figure out what it is about these assets that are changing the whole wide world and the financial system, because this could be it, you guys. This could absolutely be it, and I don't want you guys to miss out a little tiny little itty bitty bit. I want you to be right there making it with the rest of us. But hey, you gotta be paying attention. And if you're here at this channel, I think you are. And if you're finding value here, please throw a like and a subscribe. I appreciate you guys so very, very much. And until next time, be blessed, be positive, have a wonderful Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. We appreciate you guys so very much. We wouldn't be here without you. So bless you guys, and we'll catch you later.